Tonight, the men who gunned down 3 drugs dealers in cold blood are behind bars, starting life sentences.
Michael Steele, who dubbed himself the Angel of Death, was given 3 life sentences. He's said to have laughed uncontrollably after killing the men. Also given the same sentence, Jack Womes, his right-hand man.
Drug baron and Angel of Death get life for ruthless triple killing. A drug baron and his henchman, who called himself the Angel of Death, were this afternoon convicted of the cold-blooded slaughter of 3 rival dealers. It took an Old Bailey jury 5 days to find Michael Steele and Jack Womes guilty of the murders of Pat Tate, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe. Steele and Womes were both given 3 life sentences, with recommendations they serve a minimum of 15 years. The 3 victims were lured to the remote snow-covered track of White House Farm in Retton, Essex, and were executed in a sting over a batch of pure quality cannabis. Their killers even joked about the murders as they were driven away from the deserted spot where they left the bodies slumped in a Range Rover. During the 4-month trial, the jury were not told that Tony Tucker was linked to supplying the ecstasy tablet that found its way to Leah Betts. After the killings, Steele bragged to friend turned supergrass Darren Nichols that Tate had squealed like a baby, and Womes, who wore white surgical gloves for the assassinations, said he felt like the Angel of Death. Yet in court, Womes told the jury that as a child, he couldn't bring himself to shoot rabbits on his parents' farm, and when asked if he took part in the killings, he said, "I could not cold-bloodedly kill anybody. I could not kill a sparrow. To say I killed 3 men is ridiculous. Anyone that knows me knows I'm not capable of that." The victims were lured to their deaths with the promise of a lucrative cocaine deal. Prosecutor Andrew Munday QC told the court. The men had been involved in selling large quantities of cannabis, but the double dealing inherent in the trade led to the fatal feud. The trap was laid as part of a row which blew up over the consignment of pure quality drugs. Mr. Munday said, "It was a ruse to get these 3, but particularly Patrick Tate, to a deserted farm track where no one would witness what Steele and his right-hand man Jack Womes would do." The 3 unsuspecting men were no doubt excited by the prospect of discussing the deal. Each sat apparently in a relaxed pose in the Range Rover. With cold and merciless efficiency, Steele and Womes shot dead each of the 3. Each was shot a number of times in the head. Nichols, who picked the pair up after the triple shooting, heard Steele casually remark, "That sorted those fuckers out. They won't be threatening me again." Steele and Womes, along with Peter Corey, were part of a smuggling ring which shipped cannabis resin from Holland to the Essex coast. Mr. Munday said the victims were also drug dealers who sometimes took delivery of the consignments. The dead men were not angels, but they had a right to life, said Mr. Munday. Nichols agreed to give evidence for the prosecution in the high security trial, which the jury were given 24-hour protection. He had picked up Steele and Womes after the shootings and dumped the pure quality cannabis. Steele of Essex and Womes of Suffolk denied the 3 counts of murder. They also denied with a 3rd man, Peter Corey, conspiracy to import cannabis. Steele was cleared of possessing an 8-shot pump-action shotgun. Relatives of the dead men smiled as the verdict was announced. The assassins. 2 ruthless hitmen received 3 life sentences each yesterday for the triple underworld execution of 3 drug barons on the remote Essex farm track. Michael Steele and Jack Womes both protested their innocence from the dock of the Old Bailey, as Mr. Justice Hidden told them, "There is about these killings a hard, ruthless and criminal edge. You are each dangerous men who have not the slightest compunction in resorting to extreme violence when necessary." Womes and Steele, who likened himself to the Angel of Death, fired 8 shots at close range at the victims, who sat waiting in the Range Rover on the track in Retton near Chelmsford. As the jury of 8 women and 4 men returned unanimous guilty verdicts, Womes and Steele shook their heads. When they were sentenced, they again protested their innocence. The jury had spent 5 days deliberating at the end of the trial, which lasted more than 4 months and cost an estimated £1.5 million. Drug deals that led to death. At the beginning of November 1995, Tate gave £70,000 to his old pal Michael Steele. Darren Nichols, who was the star prosecution witness in the court case, revealed he and Corey would buy the drugs from John Stone, who ran Stone's Cafe in Amsterdam, Holland. Then the pair would travel to Blankenberg in Belgium, and in scenes straight out of a spy novel, using torches and walkie-talkies, they would signal to Steele in his inflatable boat. During the last drug importation worth £120,000, the tension between Tate and Steele began to mount, and the trip was dogged by disaster. Steele discovered Tate's £70,000 was around £200 short. Staff at Eurocar in Amsterdam refused to take cash for a vehicle Nichols had hired, and his credit card was over the limit. Nichols and Corey nearly missed Steele on the beach after going the wrong way. Corey went with Steele in the boat, but Nichols missed the last ferry home. Steele landed the drugs at Point Clear near Clacton, but was later arrested with Womes by customs officers who spotted the boat. The officers searched Steele and discovered an electric organiser. On it was logged the telephone numbers of Womes, Tucker, Tate, Stones Calf and Peter Corey, but no charges were brought. The situation deteriorated further when the drugs turned out to be dud. Tate was fuming. Andrew Munday QC prosecuting said there was pride at stake. Steele had lost face. He was the importer, but now had to admit what he imported was rubbish. Steele and Nichols travelled back to Amsterdam for a refund, and after much haggling were given the sum back in full. They hoped to catch a train to Ostend where they planned to meet Tate and give him back his share, but were followed to the station, probably by Stone's men. After dogging the pursuers, they hailed a taxi to Ostend at a cost of £400, leaving Steele badly out of pocket. The date was now November the 16th, 1995, and Tate was waiting on Ostend with pals including Craig Rolfe and Barry Dorman, the owner of Eastern Garages in Fobbing. Mr. Dorman had given Tate £10,000 for the deal, believing he was going to buy a car. Tate got his cash back and returned to Basildon. But greed prompted him to tell those who had loaned him the £70,000 that Steele hadn't paid up. To bolster his story, Tate threatened to make Steele admit it on his knees, and then he, Tate, would shoot him dead. Steele was further enraged to learn that 1/3 of the dead cannabis had been sellable. His investigations showed Tate had received a third and probably sold it. Another point of tension between the former friends was Steele's fondness for Tate's ex-girlfriend, Sarah Saunders. Mr. Munday said it appears Tate wasn't behaving very well towards her. Steele and his partner Jackie Street, no doubt out of loyalty, were seeking to assist her. Steele decided the only way to deal with Tate was to kill him.